Alexander III of Macedon, better known as Alexander the Great, was one of the most legendary military leaders in human history. By the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt and all the way to the borders of India. His conquests reshaped the ancient world and spread Greek culture far beyond its borders, leaving a legacy that endured for centuries. But who was this young king who never lost a battle, who inspired both admiration and fear, and whose life burned brightly before ending mysteriously at just 32 years old? Early life and education. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedon. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant military commander who had unified much of Greece under Macedonian dominance. His mother, Olympias, was a fiercely ambitious and deeply spiritual woman who claimed divine ancestry, insisting that Alexander was the son of Zeus. From a young age, Alexander was immersed in warfare, leadership, and philosophy. His tutor was none other than Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher who instilled in him a love of learning, science, literature, and especially Homer's Iliad. Alexander reportedly kept a copy of the Iliad under his pillow throughout his campaigns, seeing himself as a modern-day Achilles. Rise to the throne. In 336 BCE, when Alexander was just 20, his father Philip was assassinated, possibly with Olympias's involvement. Alexander swiftly took the throne and acted decisively to secure his power. He eliminated rivals, quelled rebellions in Greek city-states like Thebes, and earned a reputation as a bold and ruthless young king. Once Greece was under control, Alexander turned his sights eastward. His ultimate goal, to fulfill his father's plan to conquer the Persian Empire, the greatest superpower of the time. Conquest of the Persian Empire. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont, modern-day Dardanelles, into Asia Minor with around 40,000 troops. What followed was a string of military victories so remarkable that they remain studied in military academies today. 1. Battle of Granicus. Alexander defeated a Persian satrap-led force, demonstrating his battlefield brilliance and personal courage. 2. Battle of Issus. He faced the Persian king Darius III himself. Though vastly outnumbered, Alexander's strategy and bold leadership led to a stunning victory. Darius fled, abandoning his family, whom Alexander treated with great respect, a move that earned him admiration in both Greek and Persian circles. 3. Siege of Tyre. Alexander besieged the island city of Tyre for 7 months, constructing a causeway to reach it. The victory was brutal, but it showcased his determination and engineering genius. 4. Conquest of Egypt. Welcomed as a liberator by the Egyptians, Alexander founded the city of Alexandria, which would become a major center of learning and culture. King of Asia. In 331 BCE, Alexander delivered the final blow to the Persian Empire at the Battle of Gaugamela. Despite being outnumbered, he crushed Darius's army with superior tactics and morale. Darius fled again and was later murdered by his own men. Alexander now declared himself King of Asia. But conquest was not his only goal. He aimed to unify the East and West, adopting Persian customs, marrying Persian nobles, and encouraging his men to do the same. He began to wear Persian robes and ruled as a divine monarch, blending Greek and Eastern traditions. The March to India. Driven by ambition and a thirst for exploration, Alexander pushed further east. He crossed the Hindu Kush into what is now modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan, battling local tribes and founding cities along the way. In 326 BCE, he faced his most formidable opponent yet, King Porus, at the Battle of the Hydaspes River, modern-day Jhelum, Pakistan. Porus fought fiercely, even using war elephants. Though Alexander won, the toll was heavy, and his men were exhausted. When Alexander proposed going even further into India, his army finally mutinied at the river Hyphasis, demanding to return home. Reluctantly, he agreed. The long journey back. The return journey was grueling. Alexander led part of his army through the Gedrosian Desert, southern Iran, where many died of heat and starvation. Despite the hardships, he remained focused on integrating his empire. He organized mass marriages between his Macedonian soldiers and Persian women, continued founding cities, and tried to unify his diverse territories under one administration. But his men grew increasingly resentful of his easternizing ways, and tensions rose within his inner circle. Death and mystery in Babylon. In 323 BCE, Alexander arrived in Babylon, the heart of Mesopotamia, intending to make it the capital of his empire. He began planning new campaigns, perhaps to conquer Arabia, Carthage, or even the Western Mediterranean. But in June of that year, Alexander fell suddenly ill, possibly from fever, poison, or existing wounds, and died at the age of 32. His death remains one of history's great mysteries. Some theories suggest malaria or typhoid, others point to political assassination. As he lay dying, his generals reportedly asked him who should succeed him. He is said to have replied, "To the strongest." With no clear heir, his son Alexander IV was born posthumously, his empire quickly fractured into competing kingdoms ruled by his former generals, the Diadochi. Legacy of Alexander the Great. Though his empire did not survive intact, Alexander's impact was immense. 1. He founded over 20 cities, most famously Alexandria in Egypt, many of which became key centers of culture and trade. 2. He spread Greek language, art, architecture, and philosophy across the known world in what became the Hellenistic era. 3. Eastern and Western cultures blended under his rule, influencing science, religion, and politics for centuries. 4. His military strategies became models for generals from Caesar to Napoleon. 5. Myths and legends sprang up around him in nearly every culture he touched, from Egypt and Persia to India. Alexander the Great was not just a conqueror, he was a visionary, a myth-maker, and a man who shaped the ancient world in less than a decade of rule. Final thought. He died young, but in his short life, Alexander reshaped history. His dream of a united world may have died with him, but the ideas and cultural currents he set in motion rippled far beyond his lifetime.